The vastness of space stretched endlessly, a silent ocean of stars. Ships of every shape and color moved between planets, trading goods, sharing knowledge, and sometimes just showing off power. Among these stars, a rumor had been traveling faster than any ship or message could. The humans, a species said to be fragile but extraordinary, had returned. And not just any human. This one was no ordinary captain. This was the one they whispered about, the human myth. At the heart of the Zelthari Empire, the largest and most advanced alien civilization in the known galaxy, preparations were underway. In the throne room of the Queen, towering crystalline walls reflected light like scattered diamonds. Her attendants, long-limbed and sharp-eyed, hovered nervously around her. "The rumors are true," said an envoy, his voice trembling. "The human, the myth. He has arrived near the outer rim." The Queen, her eyes like pools of molten silver, leaned forward on her throne. "Show me," she commanded. Her voice carried a weight that made even her tallest generals bow slightly. Meanwhile, far from the polished halls of the Queen, a small human ship approached the neutral space station at the edge of Zelthari space. Captain Alex Riker sat at the controls, hands relaxed on the console. His ship was unremarkable. A simple scout vessel capable of speed and stealth, but nothing compared to the massive warships he had heard about in legends. Yet what humans lacked in size or raw firepower, they made up for in cleverness, courage, and adaptability. Alex's mission was simple: deliver medical supplies to a planet recovering from a minor epidemic. No glory, no battles, just a routine job. He had no idea that across the galaxy, alien tongues were preparing for his arrival, as though a god had descended from the heavens. As his ship docked, scanners lit up with activity. Multiple alien crafts hovered nearby, their pilots staring with wide eyes. Whispered messages passed between them. "That's him. Impossible. He can't be real." They said he survived the Battle of Iridian alone. Alex stepped out of his ship. He was tall, fit, and unassuming. A simple uniform, no weapons drawn, just a calm smile. He carried a crate of supplies. The aliens around him shifted nervously. They had expected a warrior, perhaps even a living weapon, not this. An envoy approached cautiously, gliding on anti-grav boots. His skin shimmered blue, his four eyes blinking in quick succession. "Captain Riker, is it?" he asked, voice smooth but cautious. "Yes," Alex replied. "Just Riker is fine. I'm here to deliver supplies, nothing more." The envoy paused. "You are the human myth?" His tone was almost reverent. Alex chuckled lightly. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm just a pilot doing his job." But the envoy's gaze did not waver. He was not the only one watching. A transmission blinked through the station's communication grid. Queen Zelthari herself had been informed. She was coming to see the human in person. The announcement spread like fire. Aliens of every species on the station whispered excitedly. They had heard of humans surviving impossible odds, single-handedly defending settlements from raiders, negotiating peace where empires failed, creating weapons out of nothing but scraps and ingenuity. And now, the human myth was here, walking among them. Minutes later, the air shimmered as the Queen's personal craft entered the station. It was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. A giant, iridescent vessel that seemed alive, moving as if it breathed. The station's docking clamps held it steady, but even stationary, it radiated power and elegance. Alex had only a moment to glance at it before the ramp lowered. Her attendants hovered around the Queen, their movements precise and almost hypnotic. And then she stepped out. The Queen was taller than any human, with a presence that made the room feel smaller. Her silver eyes held both curiosity and command. She moved gracefully, yet each step seemed to carry the weight of galaxies. "So, you are the human myth," she said, her voice low and melodic, echoing slightly in the high-ceilinged hall. Alex nodded politely. "I've been called worse," he said, keeping his tone light. though his heart beat faster than normal. Meeting. The Queen of Zelthari was not something on any of his checklists. Her gaze studied him. They said, "You survive situations no species could endure. You triumph where others fail. You—" Her voice caught slightly. "You are what we call impossible." Alex tilted his head. "I'm just human," he said simply. "We adapt, we solve problems, we try to survive, that's all." There was silence. A silence heavy with expectation, with centuries of rumors and myths waiting to be confirmed. The attendants shifted nervously. Aliens across the station craned their necks to watch. The Queen finally spoke. "I will see if the rumors are true. Captain Riker, I invite you to the palace. There you will demonstrate what makes humans extraordinary." Alex blinked. "Demonstrate? I'm just here to deliver supplies." "Do not worry," she said, her silver eyes narrowing slightly. "It is not optional." He had a choice: refuse and risk interstellar tension, or comply and face whatever tests this legendary species had prepared. Human instinct told him that curiosity was better than confrontation. He nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. Lead the way." As Alex followed her through the halls of the palace, he noticed details that no human architecture could match. Walls that seemed alive, floors that shifted colors according to mood, lights that danced like fireflies around the corridors. It was beautiful, but also overwhelming. The Queen led him to a large chamber, circular and high-ceilinged. Strange devices hovered mid-air, each one humming softly. Alien scholars and generals stood at the edges, all staring at Alex. "Here," the Queen said, gesturing to the room, "you will face tests of intelligence, agility, and strategy. If the myths are true, you will succeed where others fail. If not, we will know the truth." Alex's mind raced. He had faced dangerous missions, hostile environments, and alien warships, but never something like this. No weapons, no shields, just his wits, his instincts, and his humanity. The first test began immediately. A puzzle appeared in the center of the chamber, a floating sphere filled with lights and symbols that moved constantly. Aliens who had tried it before took hours, even days, to make progress. Alex studied it for a moment. Then he remembered a simple human technique: observe, test, and simplify. He moved his hands in patterns that mimicked natural movements, and within minutes, the sphere responded. Lights aligned, symbols matched. The puzzle clicked, and the room hummed approvingly. Murmur ran through the crowd. The Queen's eyes widened slightly, though she hid her surprise. This cannot be," muttered one alien scientist. Alex smiled awkwardly. "I told you, I'm just human. We like to solve problems." The Queen, however, was no longer skeptical. She leaned forward, her interest fully piqued. "Perhaps the myths are true," she whispered. For the first time in centuries, the palace hall was alive with anticipation. Not of war, not of conquest, but of curiosity and awe. The humans, the fragile, clever, unassuming humans, were real. And here was one of their champions, standing in front of the most powerful alien queen in the galaxy. Alex Riker had no idea that his arrival would set in motion events that could change the galaxy forever. Yet for now, he only focused on the next step, the next challenge, and the simple human principle that had brought him here: adapt, survive, and rise to the occasion. The Queen studied him, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "So, the rumors were true," she said softly. "You are indeed the human myth." The chamber hummed with quiet tension. Alex Riker stood in the center, the Queen's gaze fixed on him like molten silver. Around the room, alien spectators whispered in excitement and disbelief. Every species present had come to witness the human myth. "Captain Riker," the Queen said, her voice calm but commanding, "you have shown cleverness in solving the first puzzle. That is only the beginning. The human myth must prove itself in every way: mind, body, and spirit. Are you ready?" Alex gave a small nod. "I'll do my best." "Good," the Queen said. She gestured, and the chamber shifted. The walls moved, revealing a vast training area. The floor glowed faintly and holographic obstacles appeared. Some floated in mid-air, others moved unpredictably. This was no ordinary test. It was designed to challenge the limits of perception, agility, and problem-solving. The first test was physical. A series of floating platforms moved above a pool of glowing liquid that no human had ever touched. One misstep, and the fall could be fatal, or at least painful enough to be humiliating in front of the galaxy. The aliens watching snickered. "Fragile humans cannot survive this," one said in a sharp tone. Alex studied the platforms. Each moved in predictable patterns, though complex. He didn't rush. Instead, he timed his movements carefully. Step by step, he crossed the first platforms, then the second, moving with balance, speed, and caution. He jumped over gaps, ducked under obstacles, and sometimes used his hands to adjust floating panels. The aliens gasped. None had expected such skill. Humans were supposed to be weak, clumsy, and slow, but Alex moved like he had anticipated every step in advance. When he reached the far side, the platforms dissolved into thin air, signaling his success. The Queen's eyes sparkled with curiosity. She had seen countless champions of other species fail here, and now a human, this myth, had passed. "Impressive," she said, "but physical skill is only the first measure." Next came a test of intellect and strategy. A holographic map appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a miniature galaxy. Several points were marked in red, representing colonies under threat from an enemy fleet. Alex was given control of a simulated force, human-designed ships, alien technology, and limited resources. "Defend these colonies and neutralize the enemy," the Queen instructed. "You have 30 minutes." Alex studied the map carefully. He could see that the enemy fleet outnumbered his own by nearly 3-1. Most species would have panicked, but humans thrived under pressure. He began issuing orders using a mix of logic and creativity. He placed ships in unexpected positions, using decoys to draw the enemy away. Some of his strategies were unconventional. Ships moved in patterns that mimicked natural phenomena, confusing the enemy AI, aliens in the RAE, Gallery whispered. "He's thinking differently. I've never seen this before." "Humans, unpredictable," muttered another, eyes wide. Time ticked down. Just as the simulated fleet seemed cornered, Alex made a final move. Using a combination of calculated risk and human intuition, he forced the enemy ships to retreat. The colonies were safe. Victory. The Queen's attendants exchanged astonished glances. A species they considered inferior had outsmarted the most advanced tactics their scholars had devised. "Remarkable," the Queen said softly. "You truly are different." The final test was the most subtle, and perhaps the most revealing. Alex was led into a chamber where a group of alien captives had been placed. They had been rebels in the Queen's court, unwilling to cooperate. The challenge was to resolve the situation without violence. Most species would have attacked, captured, or intimidated. Humans? Humans used empathy, negotiation, and observation. Alex observed the captives carefully. They were frightened, uncertain, and hostile. Instead of threatening them, he spoke calmly, introducing himself and asking questions about their needs and concerns. "Why are you here?" he asked softly. "What do you want?" At first, the aliens did not respond. Then, one began speaking hesitantly. Alex listened. He asked questions that revealed misunderstandings and miscommunications. Step by step, he gained their trust. By the end, the captives were willing to cooperate voluntarily. They had been convinced not by fear, but by respect. The Queen's silver eyes widened. She had never witnessed anything like this. Most species relied on intimidation, force, or technology to control others. Humans, she realized, relied on something deeper: understanding, courage, and cleverness. "This is incredible," she whispered. "Your methods are not what I expected." Alex shrugged. We call it problem solving. We use whatever works. Brains, heart, or hands. Violence is just one option. Usually it's the worst one. Even the attendants seemed unsure how to react. They had been trained to respect the queen and fear outsiders. Yet this human commanded attention without force, without arrogance, only with skill and presence. But not everyone was impressed. In the shadows of the chamber, a faction of alien officials whispered furiously. They saw Alex's success as a threat. If humans are this capable, one hissed, they will upset the balance of power. We must stop him before he proves the myths completely. Alex, unaware of the plotting behind him, felt a small thrill of accomplishment. He had passed the first series of tests. He had demonstrated human creativity, agility, and intelligence. Yet he knew deep down this was only the beginning. The queen had not yet seen the full extent of human capability. As the queen led him back to the main hall, she spoke quietly. You are extraordinary. But I wonder, are humans truly as rare as the legends say, or is it only you? Alex smiled politely. I think it's a bit of both. Humans surprise themselves sometimes. I don't think anyone can predict what we'll do next. The queen nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. Perhaps. That unpredictability, it is fascinating. Then the whispers of danger reached him, a flicker in the corner of his vision, subtle, almost imperceptible. Some of the officials, the ones plotting against him, had not left the room. They moved quickly, quietly, attempting to trap him away from the main hall. Alex noticed immediately. Human instincts were sharp, honed through countless situations where danger lurked unexpectedly. He ducked, rolled, and moved behind a column, narrowly avoiding capture. He needed a plan. He could not confront them directly. He was outnumbered. But humans always adapted. He studied the layout. The chamber had multiple levels, doors, and vents. Using a combination of speed, stealth, and ingenuity, he maneuvered through the corridors, leading the would-be captors on a chase they could not predict. Every turn was calculated. Every move was unexpected. Finally, he reached a maintenance hatch and slipped through, leaving the conspirators scrambling in confusion. They had underestimated the human myth, as countless others had before. Back and nigh by the main hall, the queen's eyes met his as he returned calmly. She raised an eyebrow, silently asking what had just happened. Alex offered a small grin. Nothing to worry about, Your Majesty. Just exploring the palace. The queen's lips twitched in the beginnings of a smile. She had seen his courage, his cleverness, and his calm under pressure. The whispers of doubt around him had been silenced, at least for now. You truly are the human myth, she said again, her voice filled with awe. I have seen champions of many species, but none like you. Alex nodded humbly. I'm just human. We do what we must to survive and succeed. The hall fell silent for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. Every alien present felt it. Humans were more than their stories. They were alive, unpredictable, and extraordinary. And one of them, this Alex Riker, was walking proof. As night fell over the space station, Alex looked out at the stars. His journey had only begun. Tests, challenges, and perhaps danger awaited, but for the first time he felt the thrill of living up to a legend he had not even believed existed. The corridors of the Zilthari Palace were silent but tense. Captain Alex Riker moved with quiet confidence, his senses alert to every sound, every shadow. Even after passing the Queen's tests, he knew that not all eyes watched him with curiosity or admiration. Some watched with suspicion, others with fear, and a few with intentions far more sinister. Rumors of the human myth had spread faster than light through the palace and beyond. Aliens whispered about the exploits he had already accomplished, solving impossible puzzles, surviving deadly obstacles, and calming rebellious captives with nothing more than words and observation. Everywhere Alex went, whispers followed. Yet not all whispers were friendly. In a dim corner of the palace, hidden behind layers of security and secrecy, a faction of alien officials plotted. They were high-ranking members of the Zelthari court, the type who valued order above all, and humans threatened that order. If this myth grows, one hissed, his voice barely audible, the balance of power will shift. We cannot allow it. The leader of the faction, a sharp-eyed alien named Virek, narrowed his four eyes. We strike soon, he said, before the Queen becomes fully convinced of his potential. If we fail, he may become untouchable. Meanwhile, Alex had no knowledge of the brewing danger. His focus was on learning more about the aliens' culture, their strategies, and understanding what made them tick. He had found allies among a few younger scholars and soldiers who admired humans' ingenuity. One of them, a tall, green-skinned engineer named Lyra, approached him in the quiet of the observatory. "Captain Riker," she said, her voice careful, "I wanted to thank you. The way you handle challenges, it's remarkable. Humans think differently. You see possibilities where we see limits." Alex smiled politely. "We're used to adapting," he said simply. "Sometimes rules are just suggestions." Lyra laughed softly. "You might be the first human I've met, and already you've changed the way I think." Their conversation was cut short by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed across the observatory, and a booming voice echoed through the station. "Security breach! Intruders detected in the palace corridors!" Alex's instincts kicked in immediately. "Stay calm," he said to Lyra. "We need to move to a safe location." The intruders were the faction he had overheard plotting earlier. They were trained, armed, and confident. Their plan had been to capture or eliminate him before the Queen could see his full potential. But humans were unpredictable. Alex didn't panic. He led Lyra through narrow service corridors, ducking behind walls and vents, using knowledge of the station's layout to his advantage. The intruders chased him, but each attempt to trap him failed. He moved with precision, using human ingenuity to create temporary obstacles. A hydraulic vent here, a sliding door there, a burst of smoke from a chemical panel. Finally, they cornered him in a large maintenance bay. The intruders had numbers, weapons, and confidence. Alex had nothing but his wits. He studied the room. Large crates were stacked along the walls. Pipes ran across the ceiling. Machinery hummed faintly. Then he smiled. The human's advantage was adaptability. He moved quickly, grabbing a loose cable and swinging it to knock a weapon from an intruder's hand. Another crate toppled, creating a barrier. He used the shadows, the machinery, and the intruder's own expectations against them. One by one, they fell back, unable to predict his movements. It was over in minutes. The faction members retreated, frustrated and shaken. They had underestimated the human myth. Alex exhaled, leaning against a wall, his heart still racing. "Humans aren't easy to catch," he muttered. Lyra shook her head, smiling. "You are extraordinary," she said. "Even when cornered, you think ahead. We've never seen anything like it." But the danger was far from gone. News of the attempted capture spread quickly, reaching the Queen herself. She summoned Alex immediately to her private chambers. When he arrived, she was seated on a raised platform, her silver eyes piercing. "You survived the trap," she said, calmly. "Without weapons, without reinforcements, that is impressive." Alex nodded. "It wasn't easy, but humans adapt. We find a way." The Queen leaned forward. "I have been watching you, Captain Riker. Your cleverness, your courage, and it is remarkable. Yet I sense the galaxy will not let you remain unnoticed. There are forces who wish to see you fail." Alex frowned. "Then we prepare. I've already noticed some whispers. Some factions are afraid of humans." The Queen's gaze softened. "Not all humans are legends," she said. "But you are different. Perhaps the first of your kind to rise to this level." She paused, considering. "I have a mission for you, one that may determine the future of many worlds. There is a rebellion brewing in the outer systems. Their fleet grows stronger and they threaten to destabilize the region. I want you to investigate and stop them. Alex nodded. I'll do what I can. The Queen smiled faintly. Do not underestimate this challenge. It is not a puzzle or a test. Lives are at stake and failure is not an option. The galaxy will be watching. As Alex left her chambers, he felt the weight of the task ahead, but he also felt excitement. This was the type of challenge humans thrived on, complex, dangerous, and unpredictable. He returned to his ship, preparing for the journey to the outer systems. The fleet he would face was larger, better armed, and more experienced than anything he had encountered. But humans had a way of turning disadvantages into strengths. During the trip, Alex studied maps, reports, and data from the Queen's intelligence network. The rebel fleet was not just strong, it was organized, cunning, and ruthless. Conventional tactics might fail. He would need strategy, creativity, and courage, the hallmarks of humans. As the starfield stretched endlessly outside his viewport, Alex reflected on what had brought him here. His reputation as the human myth was growing. Across the galaxy, whispers of his deeds spread faster than ships or signals. People began to wonder, could a single human truly change the balance of power? He remembered the Queen's words. Not all humans are legends, but you are different. It was a reminder of responsibility. Humans were capable of incredible things, but myths carried weight. Expectations could inspire or crush. Hours later, approaching the outer system, Alex's ship detected activity. Rebel patrols moved in irregular patterns, scanning for intruders. He took a deep breath. This was it. The first real test outside the palace. Not a puzzle, not a demonstration, but life and death. He adjusted his controls, activating stealth, modules, and diversion protocols. Every movement was calculated. Every decision mattered. The rebels had no idea that the human myth had arrived, and that ignorance would be their first mistake. The ship glided silently through asteroid belts, weaving between debris and avoiding patrols. Alex's mind worked like a machine, calculating trajectories, predicting enemy movements, and improvising solutions. Human intuition guided him, often faster than any computer could. Finally, he reached the rebel outpost, small, heavily fortified, and seemingly impregnable. Yet he smiled. Humans thrived on the impossible. He studied the defenses. Laser grids, automated turrets, and energy shields created a near-perfect barrier. But Alex noticed a pattern. A subtle timing in the shield's cycles, a predictable pause in the turret rotation, a vulnerability hidden in plain sight. He activated his plan. Small drones, crafted from salvaged materials, slipped through the shields, creating distractions and minor damage. He manipulated the sensors to create phantom signatures, drawing the rebels' attention away from his main ship. Step by step, he advanced, bypassing traps, avoiding fire, and turning the environment into an advantage. The rebel leaders began to panic, unable to understand how one human could navigate their defenses so effortlessly. By the time he reached the core of the outpost, he had disrupted communications, neutralized key systems, and turned the rebels' own defenses against them. It was a brilliant demonstration of human adaptability, outnumbered, outgunned, and still victorious. From the observation post, Lyra and a few allies watched in awe. "It's unreal," she whispered. "How does one human do all that?" Alex transmitted a calm message to the rebel commanders. "Surrender and no harm will come to your people." Threats were unnecessary. Persuasion backed by undeniable capability was enough. Minutes later, the rebellion's leader sent a transmission. "We yield. The human myth is real." Alex allowed himself a small smile. Another victory, not through brute force, but through intellect, adaptability, and courage. Humans excelled where others relied on numbers or technology. Back at the Queen's palace, news of the victory arrived quickly. She leaned back on her throne, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she smiled. "So, the myths were true?" she murmured. Humans are extraordinary, and one among them is more than a myth. The galaxy was beginning to see the human legend not as a story, but as reality. And Captain Alex Riker had only just begun. The stars stretched endlessly, glittering like scattered jewels across the black canvas of space. Captain Alex Riker's ship glided silently, carrying not just him, but a small fleet of Allied vessels. The Queen had granted him authority to lead a combined human-alien strike force, a first in recorded history. The mission was simple in words but nearly impossible in execution. Stop the rebellion threatening multiple systems and restore stability before chaos spread. Alex stood at the bridge, his eyes scanning holographic maps and sensor readings. He felt the weight of responsibility, not just for the fleet but for the lives of countless civilians in the systems ahead. Humans thrived under pressure, and this was the ultimate test. Captain, Lyra's voice chimed through the comms. We've detected a large rebel fleet ahead. They outnumber us 2-1 and are heavily armed. Alex studied the readings carefully. Enemy formations were tight, predictable in appearance, but he knew better. The best advantage humans had was unpredictability. Good, he replied, calmly. That's exactly what we need. Prepare the fleet for unconventional tactics. We're going to turn their strength into a weakness. Across the galaxy, alien commanders observed the human myth in action. Some were inspired, some doubtful, but all knew one truth. Alex Riker's strategies defied conventional understanding. The fleet approached the rebel systems, moving carefully through asteroid fields and dense debris clouds. Alex used these natural features to conceal movements, creating false readings on enemy sensors. He divided the fleet into small, nimble squads rather than a single line of attack, confusing the rebels' command structure. Captain, one of the alien commanders said, a tall being with translucent skin. We should attack head-on. Their numbers are overwhelming. Alex shook his head. No. Head-on will cost too many lives. We will strike where they are weak, not where they expect it. The first phase of the attack began with feints. Small squads simulated assaults on the rebel front lines, drawing their fire and attention. Meanwhile, Alex's main group moved unseen to flank from an unexpected direction. The rebels were caught off guard, trapped between illusion and reality. The human myth had a method that aliens struggled to comprehend. Use psychology as much as tactics. Alex anticipated the enemy's reactions, exploiting hesitation and confusion. One by one, enemy ships fell into traps or retreated in disarray. This is unbelievable, muttered one Allied commander. No species fights like this. Alex remained calm. We adapt. We don't follow scripts, that's the difference. As the battle intensified, Alex noticed a key vulnerability. The rebels relied on a central command ship for coordination. It was heavily defended, but its movements were predictable. Target the command ship, Alex ordered. We disable. It and the rest will collapse. Alien ships hesitated. They expected a direct assault, not the calculated precision Alex demanded. With careful timing, drones and fighter squadrons created diversions while Alex's flagship approached the enemy command ship at high speed, using cloaking and agility to avoid detection. Inside the command ship, rebel officers scrambled. The human, he cannot be here, one yelled. But it was too late. Alex executed a sequence of maneuvers that disabled their shields and communications without destroying the ship entirely. The rebels were left confused, unable to coordinate. Now, Alex commanded. Signal surrender. They'll listen now. The rebel leaders, stunned by the sudden loss of control and the sheer audacity of the human strategy, hesitated. Alex used this moment to communicate directly, offering a chance to surrender without casualties. Do not fight, he said through encrypted channels. Your people can live. Your losses are unnecessary. We are not monsters. We are solving a problem together. Slowly, the rebel ships began to lower their weapons and disengage. The galaxy had rarely seen a surrender achieved without annihilation. The human myth had done the impossible again. Victory through brains, courage and negotiation rather than destruction. Back on the bridge, Lyra shook her head in disbelief. How does one human do all this? They outnumber us, they have advanced weapons, yet you succeed. Alex smiled faintly. We look for solutions where others see problems. We improvise. That's how humans survive. The battle ended, without a single Allied casualty. Systems that had been under threat were stabilized and civilians were safe. Messages of amazement and admiration began to flow from the Allied fleet. Even the Queen, observing from her palace, allowed herself a rare smile. Remarkable, she whispered. Humans are beyond legend. But the aftermath brought new challenges. Some aliens, both within the Queen's court and in other systems, were uncomfortable with the human myth's growing reputation. They feared unpredictability and potential disruption of their carefully maintained balance. In a quiet corridor of the palace, Virek and his faction whispered again. If humans are capable of this, he hissed, we cannot control them. Their influence will grow and the balance of the galaxy will be threatened. Alex, unaware of the plotting in the shadows, focused on rebuilding alliances. He met with local governors and military leaders, helping them understand the value of cooperation and strategy rather than domination. His human approach, empathy, reasoning, and ingenuity, was revolutionary in a galaxy accustomed to brute force. One governor, skeptical at first, admitted after discussions, "You have shown us a different way. Humans are remarkable." The Queen called Alex to a private audience. "Captain Riker," she said, her silver eyes gleaming, "you have done what no other species could. You achieved victory not with overwhelming power, but with intelligence and courage. You have proven the human myth beyond question." Alex bowed slightly. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I only do what humans do best: adapt, survive, and solve problems." The Queen smiled. "You are more than a myth now. You are a symbol of hope. And the galaxy will watch your actions carefully." Alex considered the words. Humans had always been underestimated. Now the galaxy was seeing their true potential. But he knew this recognition came with responsibility. He had to lead wisely, to show that humans were not just powerful but honorable and trustworthy. As he prepared to return to his ship, he reflected on the battle. Humans thrived not because they were the strongest, or the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but because they were clever, adaptable, and brave. One human, with courage and ingenuity, could change outcomes that entire fleets of aliens could not. The Queen had been right. Unpredictability was humans' greatest advantage. It was a gift and a weapon. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the bridge. Sensors detected movement beyond the system. A shadow fleet, massive and heavily armed, moving quickly. Alex narrowed his eyes. "Looks like the galaxy isn't done testing us yet," he muttered. "Time to adapt again." He activated the fleet's engines and prepared for the next challenge. This was far from over. Humans had shown their strength, but the galaxy would continue to test them, push them, and doubt them. And humans always thrived in the face of doubt. The human myth was no longer just a story, it was reality. And the galaxy was beginning to understand that one clever human could achieve what entire civilizations could not. From the observation deck, Lyra turned to Alex. "You're extraordinary. I don't think any of us will ever forget this." Alex smiled, looking out at the stars. "We humans have a way of surprising people," he said. "Let's hope they keep learning." The fleet moved forward, prepared for whatever lay ahead. The galaxy had seen the human advantage in full, and whatever challenges waited next, Alex Riker and his human ingenuity would meet them head-on. The human myth had proven itself once again, but the greatest trials were still to come. The galaxy was restless. News of Captain Alex Riker's victories spread like wildfire, carried by ships, communications, and whispers across countless star systems. Aliens who had doubted humans now paused to reconsider their assumptions. Even the most powerful civilizations had begun to realize that a single human could change outcomes, Entire fleets could not. But Alex did not think about fame. He focused on the task ahead. A new threat had emerged. Remnants of the rebel forces, emboldened by their survival, had allied with an unknown faction beyond the outer rim. Their fleet was massive, more numerous and better armed than anything Alex had faced before. This was the ultimate test, the one that would determine not just the stability of the outer systems, but the humans' reputation across the galaxy. In the bridge of his flagship, Alex reviewed the data with quiet determination. Lyra and a small team of alien strategists watched, trying to follow his thought process. Their fleet is organized in layers, Lyra said, pointing at the holographic display. Front lines, mid-level defenders, command ships at the rear. It's nearly perfect, Alex shook his head. Perfect until we make it imperfect. That's what humans do. We turn perfection into weakness. He began assigning tasks. Smaller strike teams would act as decoys, drawing fire and attention. Others would move through asteroid belts, using natural cover to flank the enemy. The main fleet under Alex's command would target the command ships using a combination of speed, strategy, and unpredictability. Captain, one alien officer said nervously, "This plan is dangerous. If it fails, we will lose everything." Alex smiled faintly. "It's only dangerous if we do what everyone expects. Humans survive by thinking differently. Trust me." As the fleet approached the enemy, tension crackled across the comms. Every ship, every pilot knew the stakes. Alex's calm presence reassured them. His confidence was infectious. The battle began. Drones zipped ahead, creating false sensor readings and attacking the front lines. Rebel ships reacted, firing at phantom targets while Alex's main fleet moved unseen through asteroid belts. Lasers cut across space, explosions flared, and the enemy struggled to maintain order. Alex's strategy was simple but brilliant. Control the battlefield, confuse the enemy, and strike decisively at the heart. His ships avoided direct confrontation, until the right moment, striking from angles the rebels never anticipated. Every move exploited enemy assumptions. Every decision amplified human unpredictability. From the observation deck of the Queen's Palace, reports streamed in. "The human myth. It's working again," whispered Lyra. "No species could do this." Alex's flagship surged forward, cloaked and agile. He identified the central command vessel, heavily shielded and bristling with weapons. Alien fleets hesitated to attack it directly, but humans didn't follow hesitation. They acted. Using a combination of drones, diversionary attacks, and precise maneuvers, Alex disabled key systems on the command ship. Communications faltered, weapons malfunctioned, and panic spread through the enemy ranks. The fleet, once cohesive, became fragmented. Alex took a deep breath and transmitted a calm message. "Surrender now. Resistance is futile. Your people can live. Violence is unnecessary." For a moment, silence. Then, slowly, one by one, enemy ships lowered shields and weapons. They had no choice. Their command had collapsed. Victory. The Queen's silver eyes gleamed as she watched the reports. "So, the myths were true," she whispered. "One human has changed the course of a battle entire fleets could not win." Alex's fleet regrouped, assisting the surviving rebels and stabilizing the systems. Civilian populations were safe, and the remnants of the rebellion were offered a chance to rebuild peacefully under guidance. Humans had achieved not just victory, but mercy, diplomacy, and lasting influence. After the battle, Alex returned to the Queen's Palace. The corridors, once tense with anticipation and skepticism, now radiated respect and awe. Aliens of all species bowed, whispered, or simply stared, realizing they had witnessed history. In the throne room, the Queen awaited him. Her attendants were silent, giving space to a moment of significance. "Captain Riker," she said, her voice calm but weighty, "you have accomplished what no other species could. You have faced impossible odds, defeated rebellion, and united allies. You are not just a myth. You are proof of human excellence." Alex bowed slightly. I only did what humans do best: adapt, think, and persevere. The Queen rose from her throne, stepping closer. You have shown courage, intelligence, and ingenuity beyond any legend. Your people, who many underestimated, have a place in this galaxy unlike any before. Humans are extraordinary, and you, Captain Riker, are their greatest example. The Daoi attendants whispered among themselves, a ripple of amazement spreading. Alex could feel the weight of recognition settling in. Humans had always been underestimated, fragile, short-lived, and seemingly weak compared to aliens. Now, the galaxy knew the truth. Humans could achieve what many species could not, and one human could become a symbol for all. A ceremonial hall was prepared. Leaders from across the galaxy came to witness the recognition of the human myth. Alex stood before them humbly. The Queen placed a ceremonial medallion on him, symbolizing not just honor, but trust, authority, and acknowledgement of his achievements. You will continue to act as a symbol of unity, courage, and ingenuity, the Queen said. Your deeds will inspire not only humans, but all species who value honor and wisdom over mere power. Alex looked out at the crowd, the eyes of countless species upon him. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also pride. Humans had always survived by thinking, adapting, and acting with courage. Now the galaxy would remember that lesson forever. Outside the palace, the stars seemed brighter. Messages of admiration, respect, and curiosity flowed across space. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were recognized as a species capable of extraordinary deeds. And Alex Riker had become their living proof. In quiet moments, he reflected on his journey. He had arrived at the Queen's palace, expecting a simple mission of aid. Instead, he had faced tests of mind, body, and spirit, confronted conspiracies, led fleets, and achieved victories that few could imagine. And yet he remained humble, knowing that the human advantage was not just in skill or luck, but in adaptability, intelligence, and courage. Lyra approached him quietly. Captain, she said softly, you've changed the galaxy. Humans, they'll never be underestimated again. Alex smiled faintly. We humans surprise ourselves sometimes. It's only natural that we surprise everyone else too. The Queen approached one final time, her expression solemn and proud. Remember, Captain Riker, the galaxy will test humans again. But one thing is certain, humans are no longer myths. They are legends. And you are the living proof. Alex nodded. Then we keep adapting, keep learning, and keep moving forward. That's what humans do. The Queen's smile was warm. Indeed, Captain Riker. Indeed. As he departed from the palace once more, Alex looked out at the stars. He knew that challenges would come again, that threats and conspiracies would rise. But he also knew this. The galaxy had seen humans' true potential, and one clever, brave, adaptable human could change the course of history. The human myth was no longer a story whispered in fear and awe. It was reality. Captain Alex Riker had proven that humans were extraordinary, not through brute strength, not through numbers, but through ingenuity, courage, and the unyielding human spirit.